Someone once said that things are always at their best in their beginnings. And I hope that that will be true of this week for you, and that this week and next will provide an opportunity for you to begin something which will be the basis of a lifelong interest. You may, some of you, already have done some hill walking, but I imagine that all of that activity in the hills so far, if it exists at all, will have been done with a leader, someone who has taken you to those places and who has made the important decisions of finding your way and so on in the hills. Now, this hill walking course has a very specific purpose, and that is to teach each of you the skills which are required to undertake that activity on your own, without a leader other than that leadership which you can supply yourselves and from your own knowledge of the skills.
And to start with, we take the vertical line and follow that to the margin of the map, and that line is numbered, can anyone tell me? 9-8. So 9 and 8 are the first two numbers in our grid reference. And in my mind's eye, I work out that how many tenths the canoe pond is along the grid square from the bottom left-hand corner. You'd like to do that? 7. So the third number in our 6-figure grid reference is 7.
What, you'd be aiming for this little call here, would you, on your second leg?
Yes.
Yes, well, that's quite a good plan. But
how high are you going to have to climb from the saddle, John, to the summit of the point there?
About 85 metres.
85 metres.
Mm-hmm.
How many contours was that?
8.
8 contours.
Where we're going to stop is about halfway between the two contours.
Alright, good.
The required skills for hill walking are really quite complex, quite demanding skills. The ability to read your map and compass and to use them to find your way in the mountains so that you don't get lost. Skills of movement in the mountains so that you know how to deal with particular terrain when you meet it, be it steep rocks or easy angled scree slopes, anything of that kind. You have to learn how to walk on it and how to deal with it. Then there are the all-important skills of judgment, knowing what is possible for you and what is impossible for you.
What I'd like you to do is to look up at the rocky outcrop behind me. You can possibly identify there 2 ascent routes. The one on the right is steep. The one on the left, a fairly gentle groove running up to the top.
So keep the hands nice and low. Just coming along at about the same level there. That's it, looking for the best hold. And over you come. Very good. And keeping quite low now. That's the idea, John. Just taking your handholds low there. That's the stuff. Perfect.
Right, now with the polythene survival bag.
And lastly, but importantly, there are the defensive skills of mountain walking. What are the things to do when something goes wrong?
Up. That's right, comfortable. Right, now this is a method you can use quite well on forestry roads, tracks, anywhere where you've got a bit of width.
In certain areas in Britain, the wind gusts to force 12 hurricane every 1 day in 3. So the weather conditions in summer can be really ferocious. And if a youngster is not prepared for that, is not adequately clad, then they're going to be in trouble.
A waterproof coat.
Over trousers, gaiters, good boots, strong waterproof boots.
Footwear is crucial to safety because one must keep one's footing.
I would always go for heavy boots.
Very strong waterproof boots. A hat and gloves because you lose most of your heat from your head and your hands.
The thing to remember is that we should start slowly and conserve our energy for later in the day. We want a pace which is suitable for everyone in the party.
We take food and drink and our waterproof clothing, trousers as well as a top.
I think the important thing is warm clothing, possibly a little sustenance if you're going a long way, But of course you don't want to carry too much because it's heavy and it hampers you.
The compass bearing 258 degrees.
The great thing about navigation is how little most people know about it, really. And everybody thinks it's great, we'll just set off in that direction. And of course, again, in a valley it looks nice. You get on the mountain and the cloud comes up and lines have disappeared and you don't know where you are.
For much of that leg, we were walking along the side of the hill, weren't we? So what's likely to happen if we're trying to follow a bearing and we're on the side of the hill?
We're probably losing altitude.
That's right, there's a tendency to be drawn downhill into the valley. Let's suppose that we were covering that leg in limited visibility and in thick cloud. We had a distance of about 400 metres to cover there, heading for the source of the stream. Now, any ideas how we might ensure that we will hit the source of the stream?
Take a bearing further down the stream, and that way you'd be certain to get from some part of the stream, and you could follow it up the slope to the source.
Right, what do you call that when you do it?
Point.
An attack point. Right.
Do you know what kind of heather do you think this is?
It's either bell heather or cross-leaved heath.
How many heathers are there in Scotland? Does anyone apart from Kirsty know?
Yes, there's 3 heathers.
Do you know what they are, Edward?
I know one's called bell heather.
Okay, hold on then. Does anyone else know any of them?
Cross-leaved heath.
Cross-leaved heath for another, and... Common.
I think it's cross-leaved heath.
We're going to do a practice river crossing here. Can I just say one thing before we start? That in general, you should not cross rivers like this. When you're dealing with mountain rivers, you're dealing with tremendous forces of water, forces which are much greater than yourselves. So if you were faced with a mountain river in spate, you wouldn't make any attempt to cross it. However, it would sometimes happen that you're coming down off the hill perhaps, and you meet a river not in spate, and this river you have got to cross. What we're going to do is we're going to split up into parties of 3. We're going to move across the river in a kind of rugby scrum formation.
It's freezing!
We try to have only one person moving at a time. This isn't always possible, but what you do make sure of is that each time you move a leg, you stand on something secure, and you can move across supporting each other. You shouldn't try to cross rivers which are deeper than knee-deep on you.
So you get the idea there. We're exposing ourselves to the danger, if you like, which is the centre of the gully, for the minimum amount of time as possible. We're crossing the gully quickly, close together, sheltering on the side, crossing again. And there's never any occasion when a boulder dislodged by any of us could tumble on down to someone below.
There's no even surfaces up there at all, and everything's slidey, and to slip and fall in between a crag or against a boulder, you can easily break your foot, break an ankle, twist a leg.
A simple injury such as a sprained ankle or a twisted knee can immobilize a person walking by himself, and he would be unable to get help for himself. So I think it is very important that you should never go walking on the hills by yourself.
What we've got here is a section of rock slab which is wet. In places it's greasy, and by taking the wrong line on something like this, you could get yourself into difficulties, you could get yourself stuck. What we must do is read the rock, read the ground in front of us, look for weaknesses in the rock. We want to look for little erosion pockets, and if possible, picking a line where you can see the rock eases off as it does in places, so we're not walking on anything too steep.
A hill walker should always have enough clothing and food to protect them if they had to spend the night out on the mountain. In addition to take them through the day, they should always be prepared for the unexpected.
Well, if the mist is closing in on me, I think if I knew where I was in which directions and everything, I would use a compass and a map and see if I could find my way back. If I couldn't, use a whistle or something.
On a day like this, the mist comes out very quickly and you're stuck.
Well, this is the group survival shelter, and it's in conditions just like this that we might well use it on the hill if we had to stop for any length of time?
Well, the main cause of accidents amongst young people is exposure. And for exposure, you need exhaustion, which is very prevalent amongst them, and then the three weather conditions of low temperature and high wind and rain. And you get those on the mountains, even in summer.
Okay, everyone got hold of the bottom edge, lift it up, over your head, and pull it down underneath. Backside. Now tension it out, and then fold it down, feet pointing towards the middle. Fine, good. Pull it right down underneath your backside. We could certainly spend the night here and survive. We'd be warm, and while we might be a little bit cramped, the main thing is that we would certainly survive.
A large polythene bag is excellent for getting into. Some rucksacks are built with bivy sacks, as they're called, that you can get inside, you remain warm, and because hopefully you have left word of where you are going, someone will know where to look for you. So it's probably better to shelter and keep warm and stay where you are. And if you have a whistle or a torch, to try to attract people's attention.
The average hillgoer goes through his whole mountaineering career without ever being involved in an accident situation. Supposing that an accident happened, it's likely to be of a fairly trivial nature in a hill walking situation, a broken ankle, something like that. What do we do first?
Treat him for shock.
For shock, possibly, yes. How could you attract attention?
6 blasts within 1 minute of the whistle.
Right, very good. 6 blasts of the whistle, followed by a minute's interval, right? And then the signal repeated again, 6 blasts and a minute's interval. There exist well-prepared and well-trained mountain rescue teams, and they will generally be the people who will come to your assistance in the event of an accident. They will come by foot, carrying the stretchers and other equipment. However, increasingly in rescues throughout the country now, we make use of the RAF mountain rescue helicopters. And when conditions are favourable, these helicopters are available to come and assist on mountain rescues. If you take the trouble to prepare yourself properly for the hill, then the likelihood of you having ever to call on services of the mountain rescue are virtually zero.
This course is not only 1 week long, it's 2. In the second week, we'll be going off to the mountains of Torridon, where, living in the Torridon Youth Hostel, we'll attempt a sense of some of the mountains in that part of the world. Of Lietach, perhaps, of Bennett, perhaps, but especially of our first objective up there, which will be a traverse of the whole ridge of Ben Alligan, which provides one of the finest mountain walks in the British Isles.
Could you listen a moment, please? We'll be in the hostel in just a couple of minutes.
Mr. Morrison. Yes. Tim Walker. The numbers are as we arranged. We've got 6 boys, 3 girls.
I'm just next door if you need me.
What time is it?
About 7 o'clock.
We've got dinner in half an hour, and right after that we have a briefing for your expedition tomorrow. Now, I'd like to bring along your maps, compasses, and a pencil and notebook. Okay?
Well, folks, the Glasgow Weather Centre says 24 hours clear weather, so the Ben Alligan Traverse is on for tomorrow. I've brought the Scottish Mountaineering Club guidebook, and we can refer to that later on. Now, about tomorrow, it's going to be an unaccompanied expedition for you. That's to say, you'll be on your own, making all your decisions about route finding and all the rest of it, and Tim and I will not actually be with you. We will be on the mountain, observing you from a distance. So you will be, for all intents and purposes, on your own.
I think you all understand the need for us to have an appointed leader for the expedition, and we would like Alistair to have that responsibility.
What time do we leave tomorrow then?
I think we should leave just after 7.
Now, you'll be doing the traverse in a more or less clockwise direction, starting up the southeast-facing corrie of Corrie and Louis. And passing over Scourmore, the highest peak, and finally over the Horns of Alligan. Now, you will encounter some lying snow, particularly on the two highest peaks, Drumnagruach and Scourmore. But the Horns are at a rather lower altitude, and the snow lying there should present no difficulty.
Alistair, now you're quite happy with the route?
We're going up to the first bridge, and there's a footpath that goes up there.
Okay. Just remember the briefing from last night, the points we brought out there, and alright, remember that Blythe and I will be on the ridge at the same time, probably behind you for much of the way.
There are groups like the Scouts still, where you learn a lot. A lot of the schools run trips, and I think for anyone who's wanting to go walking, they are a great opportunity.
I'm not quite sure which of these two corries we're going to have to go up to reach the summit.
I think we'll have to change bearings. That must have been the waterfall we were looking for back there.
Yeah.
You worked it out yet? Where are we going?
Compass bearings 280.
I think it's a 288 magnetic.
Right.
Right, come on, you're up. We're going.
I thought they looked much steeper than Cairngorms and more rockier. Be harder. Be more adventurous. A challenge to what you've learnt.
It's a kind of self-satisfaction. It's something you can't explain, really. It's just something that's there.
Certainly it's a great confidence builder. If you do manage to do what you plan to do, you get back safely.
Yeah, than trying to race on.
Yeah. I'm going for 3 hours, I think it is. 3 hours. Yeah. We should take about...
That it can be a beautiful day down below, but on the tops, there's blizzards. I've been up Ben McDooey in July and have experienced sort of whiteout conditions. The snow may not last all that long in July, but it's there all the same, and the temperature's much reduced.
Wonder how deep that is.
It's about 500 metres, I think. It's a long way.
Do we head on now?
Aye. Let's go.
Right. The cairn, well, it's in mist now, but it's about 250 metres that way and about 100 feet up. Yeah, I'm sure.
Alright, okay, there they are.
They're doing not badly for time.
Right, we're at the Three Horns. So if we just follow the ridge across, we can descend at the third one.
How far is it now?
Well, we've got 4 kilometres to go. I'd say that was about just over an hour to get back.
Well, you've been out in the cloud, in the mist, and you can't see anything, and then suddenly it just clears. fantastic views. It's really too difficult to explain.
Can we see the way down from here?
By the time we get there, each of you will have the skills and the ability and the judgment to make that ascent without an instructor, without someone to take you there and to guide you.
No, come on, Alice. I want my supper.
In my experience, and I'm sure in yours too, it is the things which you do yourselves competently and well, from your own skill and your own judgment. Those are the things which give you the greatest reward and the greatest satisfaction.
So how did you find the walk yesterday? Was it strenuous or otherwise? Not too bad, huh? Did you find the wee bit of snow made any difference at all? What do you think?
For me, this is personally, it's the feeling of space. Tremendous feeling of space. Just enormous space. It's very exciting.